Game of Thrones. I finally finished the show, and I did review season one in its own little video. And I finished season two so quickly that I didn't really bother doing a review because I was already halfway through season three, and I was like, well, might as well wait till I'm finished with season three. But by that point, I had finished season three, and then I moved on to season four, and I just kind of wanted to do a serious review of the show. I will do some spoilers for this show. If you haven't seen this show, that's over a decade long at this point and is over now. Spoilers, I guess. I know so. I know it might be some ridiculous to even say that, but House of Dragon is a newer show, so there's lots of people probably coming to Game of Thrones for the first time, including myself, and I will be reviewing that show. I don't know if it's going to be weekly or a full season review when it's finished, but I will definitely be reviewing that show, and I wanted to talk about Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is a fantastic show that I didn't really love at first, to be honest. I had some thoughts on season one. I think season one is probably my least favorite season, to be honest, which some of you might call blasphemy because season 8 and 7 aren't the greatest. But I would say season one is my least favorite, and I would say that because season one doesn't really do a good job at getting me invested in the story. It gets me interested in the story, but not invested. By season two, I was immensely invested, and I cared about all the characters throughout the season, and I really enjoyed their arcs and where they were going. The battles were amazing. Season one had a lot of horrible stuff in it, like dog murder, rape, very early on. And it was good for getting you to understand, hey, this world that you're about to enter in and enjoy with these characters is messed up and horrible things happen. But in terms of off the bat, it's kind of hard to get into. Now, that might be a lesser experience on a rewatch of this show. But as someone coming to it for the first time, that was definitely my least favorite season. By season two, I was immensely invested in all the battles and all that. I also really liked that early on, throughout the first 5 or so seasons, there were very few dragons, very few battles. So when they came into the story, it felt very impactful and very moving. They were very beautifully shot sequences. And then the same thing with the characters of the White Walkers and the Night King. You saw them so rarely and so not very often that when they did come, it felt very impactful and very scary. So that was cool. The production value in the show is freaking insane. It's really amazing what they were able to do here, set-wise, costume-wise, CGI-wise. This is an awesome-looking show. The music of the show is fantastic. I was surprised that even as a newcomer to the show, how iconic the theme song is and how well I knew it before I even started the show. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. And just the cast of the show is fantastic. Peter Dinklage being my favorite as Tyrion. Tyrion has my favorite moment towards the end, I believe, of season 4, where he kind of finally expresses his true feelings about his father, where he comes from, and it just kind of shows how broken of a character he is, but how that allows him to have more empathy for other people, empathy that other characters in the show don't really have because they're just awful people. And yeah, he still has things that he has to overcome, and he definitely has flaws, but it was kind of a beautiful story, and I really enjoyed that. Now, season 8 and 7 are kind of interesting because I really don't hold that much hate for them like some people do, and here's why. I really enjoyed what they were doing here. In theory. Except for Bran being the king. I was literally like, what the hell? Jon Snow and Daenerys getting together, I feel like, okay, if you had had 3 seasons to develop that story and that romance, cool. Totally fine with that. They didn't. And I don't understand what happened here, okay? These creators wanted to leave the show, so they came to HBO and said, we want to leave the show. And they're like, cool, end the show then. It's like, well, no, they should have really just gotten new showrunners. And I know it's kind of hard because the show was so late into its life at that point, but it really should have been get new showrunners, because we have a show that in theory the author said that could last up to 15 seasons at least, and they ended it in less than 10. I think if the show was able to go on longer, they would have fleshed out Bran a little bit more and made him actually a real character, because he really hadn't been up to that point and been able to make that thing work of him being the king. By the end of the show, they would have fleshed out Daenerys and Jon Snow's romance and actually give him important things to do. But instead, all that was so rushed, and it made these really last 13 episodes some of the most clunky episodes of any show I've ever seen. They weren't horrible. They had lots of beautiful moments, lots of amazing moments with the score and dragons and things and battles that just really felt great character moments. But by the end of it, I was thinking, this ends like Lord of the Rings and not Game of Thrones. I don't know what I was supposed to take away from the show. I wish that this would have been better, to be honest. But overall, I really loved this show. It's not one of my favorite shows like some people, just because, my favorite shows tend to be not always happy shows per se, but at least shows that when I watch, they're easy to sit down and watch. That doesn't mean I don't love the show. I definitely do. It's at least in my top 30 favorite shows, at least, but not my top 10 by any means. Good show. And I'm excited for House of the Dragon. Looks like a fantastic show. Very, very excited for that.